What if the biggest challenge a community faces isn't something obvious, like a crumbling bridge or a factory that's closed down, but something that's kind of hidden in plain sight? Today, we're going to unpack a really startling report out of Lamar County, Georgia. It reveals this quiet crisis that has some pretty huge consequences for everyone there. Okay, let's get right into it.
But before we jump into all the numbers, let's just take a step back and ask a really basic question. When you think about a community that's truly working, that's thriving, what's its most critical asset? Is it the roads, the buildings, maybe the local businesses? Or is it something you can't quite touch but is way, way more powerful?
Yeah, at the end of the day, a community's greatest strength is its people. It has to be. All that collective knowledge, the skills people share, the drive of its citizens, that's what really fuels progress. It's the engine, right? So what happens when that engine starts to sputter? What happens when a massive chunk of the population is just being left behind?
And that brings us to this single, kind of staggering number that's really at the heart of this whole story, 67%. And look, this isn't just another statistic. It's a huge wake-up call for Lamar County. And honestly, it's a window into a challenge that a lot of communities are facing, often in total silence.
Just think about that for a moment. 2 out of every 3 adults in Lamar County don't have the literacy skills that are considered proficient to really thrive in today's world. I mean, that's like a foundational crack in the community's bedrock, and it sends these tremors out that affect everything, from the local economy all the way down to the conversations happening at the dinner table.
So what do we actually mean by proficient? We're not just talking about being able to read a stop sign. No, Level 3 proficiency is all about navigating the complex stuff of modern life. It's being able to read your lease and actually get what your rights are, or to compare a couple of different news articles and spot when something's off, or to look at a candidate's platform and make a genuinely informed choice. These are the skills that really empower you. And here's where that problem really starts to come into focus. Only a third of adults in Lamar County meet that Level 3 standard. That's a full 8 percentage points below the state average, which, let's be honest, is already a number that should make you worry. So the big takeaway here is this isn't just a local thing. It's a really significant deficit.
And get this, when we look at numeracy, how comfortable people are with numbers and data, the gap gets even wider. Only about 1 in 5 adults in Lamar County is proficient, compared to almost 1 in 3 across the whole state. This means way fewer people who can confidently manage a family budget, understand a medical bill, or get the kind of technical jobs that could really lift up the whole community.
Now, this is where the story gets even more personal. Of the folks who aren't proficient, a big part of them are at Level 2. They can get by, but they really struggle with more complex stuff. But here's the most alarming part. A full quarter of all adults are at Level 1. The report calls this functionally illiterate. That means they might struggle to read a prescription bottle correctly, or fill out a job application, or even read a bedtime story to their kid.
A skills gap this huge doesn't just impact individuals one by one. It sends shockwaves through the entire community, hitting everything from people's paychecks to the polling places on Election Day. So let's talk about those real-world costs.
Okay, just imagine you're trying to bring a new tech company to your town. If a huge part of your workforce can't pass a basic skills test, you're not even in the running for those good-paying jobs. Now picture it's Election Day, and the ballot is just filled with complicated legal jargon. If you struggle to read, how can you possibly make your voice heard? This skills gap, it doesn't just hold back the economy. It actually weakens democracy itself.
The report puts it so bluntly, and this quote, this really stopped me in my tracks. It says, a large majority of the community may find complex inferencing and evaluation to be too difficult. Just think about what that means. It's not just about one voter here or there, it's about the entire community's ability to govern itself, to solve its own problems.
But the most devastating impact of this whole adult skills gap isn't what's happening right now. It's what it means for the future. This is where the crisis becomes a generational bottleneck, a cycle that is threatening to just repeat itself with every new class of kindergartners.
The report really does not mince words here. It calls the cycle of unprepared parents raising unprepared children the single most critical takeaway. And let's be super clear. This isn't about blaming parents. Not at all. It's about recognizing the incredible disadvantage they're facing. I mean, if you struggle with reading yourself, how can anyone expect you to help your child with their homework or build that early love of books that we all know is just so important?
And that leaves us to the second, and maybe even more heartbreaking number in this whole story. If 67% was about the adults, this next number, this one is about their children. And it's a staggering
83%.
This right here, this is the direct result of that generational cycle. An unbelievable 83% of third graders in Lamar County are not reading at grade level. Educators always talk about third grade as this huge pivot point. It's where kids shift from learning to read to reading to learn. And when 83% of your kids can't make that turn, their entire future in school is suddenly at risk.
And just to put this into perspective, the statewide average for third-grade reading in Georgia is already alarmingly low. But in Lamar County, the proficiency rate is less than half of that already low number. So this isn't just a community that's falling behind, it's a community in a full-blown academic free fall.
And when we dig in a little closer, we see that this crisis is not an equal opportunity disaster. It hits the most vulnerable kids the absolute hardest. 100%, every single third grader with a disability is below proficient. 97% of Black students. Wow. These numbers, they aren't just statistics. They represent a deep injustice that demands an immediate and very targeted response.
So where does a community go from here? When a problem is this big and this deeply rooted, it's so easy to just feel hopeless. But the report doesn't just lay out the crisis, it also offers a kind of blueprint for a path forward. And it all starts with a major shift in how you look at the problem.
For me, this is the most important sentence in the entire report. This is not just a school problem, it is a community-wide generational crisis. That one statement changes everything. It means you can't just point your finger at the schools and expect them to fix it all by themselves. It means everyone, businesses, libraries, churches, regular neighbors, everyone has a part to play.
And that community-wide response has to be a three-pronged attack. First, you got to help the parents. By investing in adult education, you're not only empowering them to improve their own lives, you're also making them their kids' first and best teachers. Second, you create real economic opportunity through workforce training. That gives people a pathway to better jobs, which means more stable homes. And finally, you have to reach the kids as early as you possibly can, with high-quality programs that can close that gap before it even opens up.
The story of Lamar County is such a powerful reminder that a community is this delicate ecosystem, right? The well-being of the adults is just completely tied to the future of their children. It's a crisis that was generations in the making, and you know it's going to take a generation of real commitment to solve it. And that leaves us with a question, not just for the folks in Lamar County, but really for all of us. What are we doing to strengthen the most vital resource in our own communities?